I was 32 years old when I found out my parents gave my entire inheritance to my brother. The money my grandfather left specifically for me gone. But what I did next didn't just change my life. It destroyed theirs. If you want to know how I got my revenge and rebuilt my life from nothing, make sure to like this video and subscribe. What happens next will blow your mind. My name is Emily Carter, and this is the story of the biggest betrayal of my life. Growing up, I always knew my brother Brian was the favorite. He was the golden child who could do no wrong. When he got bad grades, my parents said the teachers didn't understand him. When I got bad grades, I was lazy and stupid. When Brian crashed Dad's car at 16, they bought him a new one. When I asked to borrow the car for prom, they said I was too irresponsible. But I dealt with it. I worked hard. I put myself through college with scholarships and 3 part-time jobs. Brian dropped out after 1 semester, and my parents paid off his student loans without blinking. I graduated with honors. They didn't come to my graduation because Brian had a dentist appointment that day. Still, I loved my family. I thought maybe one day they'd see my worth. Maybe one day they'd be proud of me. Then my grandfather died. Grandpa Joe was the only person in my family who ever believed in me. He came to my college graduation when my parents didn't. He called me every week just to check in. He told me I was smart and capable and deserved the world. When he got sick, I was the one who took care of him. I drove 2 hours every weekend to help him with groceries, doctor appointments, and bills. My parents lived 20 minutes away but barely visited. Brian never came at all. The day before Grandpa died, he held my hand and said, "Emily, I made sure you're taken care of. You deserve it more than anyone." I cried and told him I just wanted him to get better. Money didn't matter to me. He smiled weakly and said, "I know, sweetheart. That's exactly why you deserve it." He passed away the next morning. The funeral was small. My parents cried dramatically, which felt fake since they barely visited him when he was alive. Brian showed up late and left early. I was heartbroken. Grandpa Joe was the only family member who truly loved me. 2 weeks after the funeral, my parents invited me over for dinner. This was unusual. They never invited me over. I usually had to beg for holiday invitations. "We need to talk about Grandpa's will," Dad said as soon as I sat down. My heart jumped. I remembered what Grandpa said. Maybe he left me something. Maybe a few $1,000s to help with my student loans. "Your grandfather left an inheritance," Mom said, not looking at me. "Okay," I said carefully. "He left a substantial amount. $250,000. I almost choked. $250,000? That was life-changing money. I could pay off my loans, buy a house, start a business. My mind raced with possibilities. That's amazing," I whispered. Mom and Dad exchanged a look. "The thing is, Emily," Dad said slowly, "your grandfather left the money to you specifically." "Okay," I said, confused by their tone. Why did they seem upset? "But we've been thinking," Mom continued. "Brian really needs this money right now. He's trying to start a business and he's got debt and—" "Wait, what?" I interrupted. "We think it's only fair that the money goes to Brian," Dad said firmly. "He's struggling, and you have a stable job." I stared at them in shock. Grandpa left the money to me, not Brian, me. "We know that," Mom said impatiently. "But family helps family. Brian is your brother. Don't you want to help him?" "I took care of Grandpa for 2 years while you all did nothing," I said, my voice shaking. "Brian never even visited him. Why would Grandpa want his money to go to Brian?" "Don't be selfish, Emily," Dad snapped. "This is exactly why your grandfather didn't trust you with money in the first place." I felt like I'd been slapped. "What are you talking about? He specifically left it to me." "Actually," Mom said, pulling out some papers, "he left it to us as trustees, with instructions to give it to you when you turn 30. You turned 32 last month, so technically we've been holding on to it for 2 years." My blood ran cold. "You've had my money for 2 years and didn't tell me?" "We were waiting for the right time," Dad said defensively. And the right time is to give it to Brian instead? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Brian needs it more than you do, Mom said. He's trying to start a business. You have a good job. You're fine. I have student loans. I'm renting a tiny apartment. I work 60 hours a week just to make ends meet. I was yelling now. Well, maybe if you managed your money better, you wouldn't be in that situation, Dad said coldly. I stared at my parents. These people who were supposed to love me, who were supposed to protect me, and they were stealing my inheritance to give to their favorite child. Where's Brian now? I asked quietly. He's waiting in the other room, Mom admitted. Of course he was. They'd already planned this whole thing. Brian walked in, looking uncomfortable but not surprised. He knew. They'd all discussed this without me. Brian needs this money to follow his dreams, Mom said. Surely you can understand that. What about my dreams? I asked, tears streaming down my face. You're already successful, Emily, Dad said. Brian just needs a little help to get on his feet. A little help. $250,000. My money. The money my grandfather left me because he loved me and knew I deserved it. I won't let you do this, I said firmly. You don't have a choice, Mom said, sliding a paper across the table. We already transferred the money to Brian's account this morning. We're just informing you out of courtesy. The room spun. They'd already done it. The money was gone. We wanted to tell you in person so you'd understand it's for the good of the family, Dad added. I looked at Brian, my brother, the person I'd grown up with, defended, loved despite everything. Say something, I whispered to him. He shrugged. Sorry. But they're right. I really need this money. That's when something inside me broke. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely drive home. $250,000. Gone. Stolen by my own family. That night I cried until I had no tears left. Then I got angry. Then I got smart. The next morning I called a lawyer. His name was Mr. Anderson and he specialized in estate law. Do you have a copy of your grandfather's will? He asked. No, but I can get one from the county records, I said. 3 days later, I sat in Mr. Anderson's office with the official will in front of me. He read it carefully, then looked up at me with raised eyebrows. Your parents committed fraud, he said simply. My heart stopped. What? Your grandfather's will is very clear. The money was to be held in trust until you turned 30, then transferred directly to you. Your parents were trustees, which means they had a legal obligation to give you the money. Instead, they stole it and gave it to your brother? Can we get it back? I asked, barely breathing. Absolutely. And we can press criminal charges if you want. I thought about my parents, the people who were supposed to love me, who chose my brother over me every single time, who stole my future. Without a second thought, let's do it, I said. All of it. The lawsuit hit my family like a bomb. My parents immediately called me, screaming that I was tearing the family apart. My mother cried and said I was being cruel. My father said I was ungrateful. Brian called me a snake. Said I was jealous of him. Said I'd always been the problem in the family. I didn't care anymore. I was done being the family doormat. The case was open and shut. Mr. Anderson presented the will, the trust documents, and the bank transfers. My parents had no defense. They'd stolen money that legally belonged to me and gave it to Brian. The judge ordered them to return every penny, plus interest, plus my legal fees. The total came to $275,000. But here's the kicker. Brian had already spent most of the money on a failed business venture. Some investment scheme that went belly up within months. The money was gone. So the judge ordered my parents to pay me back from their own savings, their retirement fund, the money they'd been saving for 30 years. They had to drain everything. Their savings, their investment accounts. They even had to take out a second mortgage on their house. Watching them write that check was the most satisfying moment of my life. But I wasn't done. With my inheritance finally in my hands, I did exactly what Grandpa Joe wanted me to do. I paid off my student loans. I bought a small house. I started my own business, a consulting firm that's now incredibly successful. 3 years later, I'm debt-free, financially secure, and happier than I've ever been. I got married to an amazing man named Jake who comes from a loving family who treats me like their own daughter. My parents, they're struggling. They had to downsize their house. Dad had to delay retirement. Mom had to go back to work. Brian's business failed completely, and he's back living with our parents at 35 years old. They call me sometimes, asking for money, saying family should help family, asking if I can loan them some cash to get back on their feet. I laugh and hang up every single time. The best part? Other family members found out what happened. Aunts, uncles, cousins. They all know my parents stole from me and gave everything to Brian. Most of them don't talk to my parents anymore. Grandma Rose, my dad's mother, actually wrote my parents out of her will because of what they did to me. She told me I remind her of Grandpa Joe, strong, independent, and too good for people who don't appreciate me. My parents destroyed their own lives through greed and favoritism. And I'm not sorry. Not even a little bit. If this story taught you anything, remember this: family who steals from you isn't family at all. Know your worth, stand up for yourself, and never apologize for protecting what's rightfully yours. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Drop a comment below and tell me what you would have done in my situation. Would you have sued your family or would you have let it go? I read every comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.